Tens of thousands of Americans are buying these little Kei trucks, but before you open up Marketplace and go shopping for one, you should probably talk. I'm just like any other gearhead in the fact that I need a shop truck. I need something reliable. I need something that's fun whenever I need to hop in it when I'm all greasy, go to the parts store. And I'm also loving all these crazy K-car builds on YouTube. Now, I'm not planning on doing anything crazy like that, but I need a quality small truck that can be street legal, that can navigate my property like a little John Deere Gator or something. And after a ton of research, I'm pretty sure I found the best K-car. I'm sure many of you have the exact same questions that I do about a tiny truck like this. Like, what is it capable of? And can your average American Joe or American Jane own something like this and actually make good use of it? Clearly, this is not a tow truck, but can we use it for like normal American junkyard haul stuff? That's the kind of things that I like to do. Plus, I needed something that was really small, four-wheel drive, that I can use kind of like a John Deere Gator here on my property. So will this check all the boxes? I figured we'd start the video by maxing out its payload capacity. It was really difficult to find an accurate payload capacity online, but there is a little sticker on the back of the bed. This is 350 kilos. So that's about 770 pounds. And right now, with a fully dressed Dana 60, and with a one of the heaviest winches you can buy, even with a bumper attached to it, this would be like a normal junkyard haul, right? We're like right at peak capacity. So now I'm gonna go drive it around and see, like, is it still a functional truck? Kei trucks, or K trucks, however you say it, are vehicles made for the Japanese market that are exempt from certain taxes, and that makes them highly desirable. They have maximum engine sizes, they have maximum like bumper to bumper lengths, and even though they all look the exact same, they are drastically different. So I mean, Mitsubishi, Daihatsu, Subaru, Honda, Suzuki, these are all companies that make Kei or K trucks. And once again, they all look almost identical on the outside, but the way these are built is so unbelievably different. And after many years of wanting one of these, I have done a lot of research, and I'm convinced that the Subaru Sanbar is the best one. And we'll go over why later. I'll talk about some of the differences. If you're interested in buying one of these trucks, this video is going to be somewhat helpful because it is kind of hard to piece together some of this information. But as far as the little test that I'm doing right now, where I'm just loading it down to max capacity to see how it drives, it's just like American vehicles. I mean, you'll load it down to within what the engineered specifications are of the truck, and it's gonna haul down the road just fine. I mean, I know that these are really small, and it's easy to look at it and think, you know, what could you possibly do with that? But I feel like there is an argument for these being very practical for a lot of people. It'll choke out, but that doesn't look bad. Nice, the air filters actually doesn't look bad at all.
Yeah.
That's good. One of the biggest bittersweet elements of these little vehicles is that almost all the ones you find fresh from Japan have super low miles. They're almost always around 50,000 miles. But I guess the bitter part of that is that these didn't see a ton of use, meaning that like there's large spans where this truck sat around. And so even when it's hot, sometimes it'll die. When it's cold, sometimes it'll die. So I'm doing just a little bit of basic maintenance on this thing and just spraying a ton of seafoam through it. And after driving it like really hard, letting it rev, this old carburetor seemed to liven right up. And in my case, that's all it needed in order to get this thing running right as rain. The road manners are pretty good, actually. I love driving something with such a narrow like gear change. It's a 5-speed, but you know, your 5th speed is like, you know, we're going like 45, or right now we're going 50 kilometers an hour. What is that in English, do you know?
30.
Oh, it's trying to die on me again. Damn it. We're going like 30 and I'm in 4th gear. But the good thing is the Subaru is a little bit more powerful, and at 30 I'm pulling a hill at 4th gear, which is awesome. This is the only 4-cylinder in the class of these trucks, which is why I was attracted to it. Ooh, that mount might come off. And here is 5th. It hums along pretty good. I like that there's not an engine underneath the seat, you know, as there is in the other models. It's all the way in the back. However, the first stop today is the parts store because it is not working correctly. Somehow between when I bought it and towed it home and now, I broke it. We found 2 loose vacuum lines, we replaced them, and now this is running exactly like it should. But I do have another thing on the agenda today, which is going to the Department of Licensing and getting this registered in my name. I'm so happy this worked. See, the guy I bought this from, he bought it like 4 years ago from an importer into Oregon. And in Oregon, you're not allowed to register these to drive on the street. So when I got all the paperwork from him, like export certificates and all this stuff I'm unfamiliar with, I was just fingers crossed, and it totally worked. I have plates. I legally own a Kei car, whatever, to drive on the street here in Washington State. If you're on Marketplace right now looking for one of these, just because you're thinking about it, I recommend you pause real quick. Make sure that your local state laws will allow you to register this in your state. Here's where it gets really funny. I just registered this in my state, in Washington. I can drive this on the interstate here. And because that's the case, even though you're not allowed as a citizen of Oregon to register these and drive them on the street, me as a resident of Washington can come drive right down your interstates too, and the local state patrol can't do anything about it. It's real. Our laws here are really interesting from state to state, and the fact that your state has to honor my state's laws because this is registered in my state, so I could drive in all 50 states without worrying about it, whereas the local citizens of those states can't do that. And I do appreciate that this is under the guise of safety. I mean, there's no chance this is as safe as my nice big heavy duty Kodiak, right? However, all those states can buy, the residents can buy motorcycles, and they can't buy these because of the interest of safety. So I do find that really interesting, and this is how it works here in the United States of America. Things get a little bit tricky going from state law to state law sometimes. Most of us aren't trying to drive our vehicles at maximum capacity all the time, and that's where I think that this little Subaru actually outshines the competition, the other vehicles in its class, because the suspension design and where the weight is allocated in this truck makes it really capable and drive great no matter whether or not it's loaded or unloaded. This truck is perfect to go pick up random odds and ends off of, Marketplace. It's killer to just go zip around town. I like parking it on Main Street in my local little town. It fits everywhere. But where I think it really shines is like a substitute for a John Deere Gator. I've always liked Gators. I've always wanted the Gator, but from a practicality standpoint, this can do what a Gator can do, and I can drive it on the street, and I could go to Home Depot. I've actually moved like 8-foot long 4x4s in this already, and it has these cool little like ears that pop up on the factory bed rack, and it's actually way more practical for moving stuff like that than you would think. Yes, the bed is only like 6'4" or 6'2" or something like that, but that's actually longer than the bed was in my Tacoma. It's longer than the bed in my wife's Gladiator. It's longer than a lot of short bed trucks actually, or even the same size as a lot of other short bed trucks. It just looks tiny because it's on a tiny vehicle, but I have found this to be very practical for a lot of different situations. And this is coming from a dude who loves 1-ton dualies. I've owned many 1-ton dualies over the years. That is always my truck of choice. But now that I need to like get in and out of, in between the trees on my property, I'm gonna need to load this with like gravel and take it to places and dump gravel. I'm gonna be building a rock garden. This is gonna be killer to like put rocks in the bed and then just, once I get better tires, of course. These are on it's on pizza cutters right now. But once I get better tires, I'm definitely going to be using this constantly on my property to be able to get heavy stuff into places that my Kodiak can't get. And even if I had like a smaller truck than the Kodiak, let's just say a 1-ton or a half-ton truck, this is much smaller, much more nimble, and it's kind of the perfect truck if you have a farm or you have a little bit of property or something like this. I've thought about this a ton, and I've been using it a lot lately. I'm really falling in love with the capability of this tiny pickup truck. Now the most important part of the video, and what I think is going to be the most controversial part of the video. Why did I choose the Subaru Sanbar over the other models of Kei truck? And by all means, if you're a huge fan of the Suzuki Carry and you think that it's better than these, tell me in the comments. Like, I'm not married to this idea. This is just, out of all the research I did, here are the reasons that I think this one is the best. This is the only 4-cylinder in its class. All the rest of these are 3-cylinder, which they're all the same size engine, same displacement and whatnot. However, all the reviews I saw where people are actually driving them side by side, unanimously everyone said that the 4-cylinder version of the 660cc engine is more powerful. It feels much better. I have a dead tree that is, I don't know if you can hear that. Big branch just fell. Anyway, 4-cylinder appears to feel better than the 3-cylinder. And this was unanimous on all the sources that I found. Also, if it's the same size displacement engine and you are adding a cylinder, that means you're reducing the size of the cylinder and you must be reducing the stroke, which is another point. This is the only non-interference motor that I could confirm, meaning that if your timing belt breaks, your valves will not clatter into your piston, which is very nice. Also, because of the placement of this engine being all the way in the very back, this has a lot of benefit. So some of them have the engine underneath the passenger seat. Some of them have the engine right here behind the cab, and there's like a plate right there that you take off and you have access to it. In both instances, it is going to be more difficult to do timing belt changes. It'll be more difficult to do everything than if you just have the engine like behind the rear axle. The Honda Acty actually has the engine in front of the rear axle. And the reason that that one's so popular, not only is it a Honda, and Hondas are great, but it's popular because the farther you move that engine away from the cab, it drastically reduces engine noise. If you don't have AC, like this one doesn't have AC, most of them don't have AC, getting the engine like out of the cab will help reduce heat in the summertime. There's a lot of benefits to having the engine way back there. And this one is the only one that has the engine behind the rear axle. And that has a whole bunch of benefits. I did a lot of research on which ones were the easiest to work on. And everybody said this is like the easiest timing belt you will do in your life. You basically like remove the wheel, you open up the back, there's like a hood that you undo with the key, and now you have like full access to everything. Plus there is a panel on top that you can remove. So this is like the easiest one to work on. There's something else that I need to talk about when it comes to having the engine in the back. The better weight balance gives you're loading the rear springs just a little bit, which is going to make it ride better. That's also going to make it easier to put on a 2-post lift. These little key trucks that have the engine like under the passenger seat, it's like a meme. Like they're notorious for falling off of 2-post lifts because they're unsafe. There's like no safe way to really balance them up there. Benefits outside of the engine placement and the engine size is the fact that this is on 4-corner coils. It's IFS, IRS, independent front suspension, independent rear suspension, and it rides awesome. Like whether it's loaded or unloaded, it rides awesome. And every truck I've ever owned that's leaf sprung, it doesn't matter the make, model, size, anything. When it's unloaded, it rides like a leaf sprung truck. This rides the same, whether it's full or empty. It's awesome, which was what I was hoping for whenever I did the research and found that this was coil spring on all 4 corners. This has the biggest fuel tank that I could confirm at 8 gallons, which is hilarious. Every single review that I saw on these trucks reported that this had the most legroom. When you actually watch videos of people going to like a dealer with these trucks, sitting in them side by side by side, they said that the Honda Acty was the smallest amount of legroom and that the Subaru Sanbar was or Sanbar, I don't know how you pronounce it, has the most legroom. And I can confirm that at 6'1", it's not bad. I mean, you can tell you're in a little truck, but I'm not uncomfortable because of legroom, that's for sure. It is seriously not bad. Also, this has a 4x100 bolt pattern for the lugs. So if you needed to change out wheel, which we will put some different wheels and tires on here. I need a meteor tire for my property. It's so wet here. And these little street pizza cutters they're gonna find the limitation quickly out here. But the 4x100 bolt pattern is extremely common. If you're a car guy, you know what I'm talking about. They have that bolt pattern on tons of different makes and models from tons of different continents. So that's also another benefit. Now, as far as questions, I had a bunch of questions online where people are asking me, why would I choose this over a side-by-side? I think that if you live in Washington, the reasons are pretty apparent. This already has an enclosed cab, right? So right now it's raining. If I'm driving in the rain side by side, I mean, you're fully decked down. With the engine in the back, this is quiet. I can just drive down the road at 55 and 60, and I'm talking to the person next to me without like headgear and all that other stuff. I can totally drive a side-by-side on the road legally where I live, but this is legal to drive on the interstate. I'm not limited on any roads, or if I need to cross a highway for a mile or something like that, I'm not having to like snake around it like you would with a side-by-side. Plus, I don't know, let me know in the comments, are there any side-by-sides that have like 6'2", 6'4" beds? All the ones that I've seen are usually like 4 feet. So I think that this is better in the side-by-side for my application, maybe not for yours. If you live in Arizona and it's super, like the side-by-side just ripping might be super fun compared to this, but for my situation with my property and with me wanting to like take this to Home Depot and use the lumber rack and all that stuff, this is just, it's better for me than a side-by-side. Also, why would I choose this over like a Ford Ranger, Tacoma, S10? That was another question that I got, and I think that's a great question. Because those are like, it's way easier to get parts for a Chevy S10 or a Ranger or a Tacoma or anything like that. However, I would challenge you to find like a first gen Tacoma or any Tacoma with 52,000 miles for $7,000. That's how much I bought this for. It's a super low miles Japanese truck. And Japanese trucks are notorious, no matter who the brand is, for going like many hundreds of thousands of miles. So I'm able to get a very low miles truck that is smaller than a Toyota Tacoma, smaller than a Ranger, smaller than an S10, but has the same size bed. So I think you can see why I decided to go this route. Plus, it is really interesting, right? I mean, I love the first gen Tacoma. I would totally own one as like a little like, you know, hobby truck on a property like this. But for $7,000, I feel like there's a lot of value in these. And I think that they, what about safety? Do you think you'd be safer in an S10? You probably would be. I mean, my feet are the front bumper, so there's definitely an argument to be made there. I'm not married to this thing at all. I'm just using it. I'm gonna see how I like it. Right now, I'm in love with it. I can't help but smile every single time I get in it and zip around. I mean, even the lady at the title place was like, is that your little beep beep out in the, you know, out in the parking lot? Everybody thinks it's adorable and like gives me waves, like kids give me thumbs up. It's pretty cool owning one of these so far. So anyway, I hope that this will help those of you that are interested in these make a somewhat educated decision. And I am 100% serious. If you think that there's a better one of these and you can make like a really good case for that, let's say you're another YouTuber, you have a video on like the Suzuki Carry and why it's so much better than these are, drop that in the comments, dude. I have no problem with that at all. Also, I would say that if you want to turn one of these into like a wild little 4x4, like you're looking for like an inexpensive small truck that you can lift, you can put bigger tires on, maybe even do like straight axle swap, that kind of thing, I would start with a Suzuki Carry personally, instead of something that has the engine all the way in the back. This is going to be problematic if you want to really wheel the crap out of it and turn it into like a mini rock crawler. But if you're like me, you might upgrade the tire size a little bit, maybe do a 2-inch lift or something small, and you want all those, like all the benefits that I've been saying throughout this video, I really do believe that the Subaru Sanbar is the way to go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.